Hello, everybody, and this is going to be about aura and also the spiritual elements. That way, people know how this stuff works and magic. Pretty much how magic pretty much works in Ultimatus and the universe and all that. There we go. So pretty much how Ultimatus's magic and energy works. There is three categories of energy and elemental manipulation and stuff. There is magic, which magic is how you would think, pretty much how D&D uses it as well. It's spells. It's magical spells and preset energy manipulation. Yeah, preset energy manipulation. Um, so pretty much like fireball, it'll be the same fireball. You feed more energy into the fireball, it'll get bigger or stronger. Bigger and stronger. Same with lightning, same with ice and all that. It can be the same spell, but the more energy you force into that spell, the more powerful it's going to be. And pretty much what's happening is that you're sacrificing some of your soul's energy to compose this element. So, there you go. If you were to, let's see, make an earthquake, depending on how much energy you force into it, depends on how severe the earthquake will be or how big it will be. And so on and so forth. That's how magic works. Magic is pretty self-explanatory. It's magic. What explanation do you need? Aura, on the other hand, is natural energy manipulation. Is custom energy manipulation. While magic are pretty much presets of energy manipulation, like you use a spell, it's the same spell regardless of how much energy you put into it. Aura and spiritual elements are more the form of manual energy manipulation. Pretty much you're manipulating the energy yourself. So instead of making that fireball, if you're using manipulation, you can turn those fireballs into spears or into like stars to fly at the enemy, or make it into small little diamond-shaped objects and throw them at the enemy out of whatever energy. Depending on the energy, though, it depends on how more complicated it's going to be and hard to do. However, there is certain things. I have a list here because I forget about stuff. Pretty much how this is going to work, as I'm going to explain the octa-core auras. The octa-core auras are the 4 core auras, or the 4 core energies you can manipulate with aura. Because aura is energy manipulation. But normally aura is about elemental manipulation, not really about natural elements. That's what Ria aura is for. What's Ria aura is soul aura. It's when you're manipulating your soul's energy. However, the octa-core auras, there are 8 of them in total, hence the octa. But they go in this order. There is the Holokin, Necrotis, Infernic, Aquinus, Terracon, Vensic, Boltzin, and Naturnic. Naturnic. Which I'm pretty sure some of them you guys can pretty much self-explanatory what they do. Holokin and Necrotis is going to be different, because I can see people thinking Necrotis is going to be necromancy. No. Holokin is pretty much to be translated. Mind you, these are all my own language. I made them myself. Don't worry about it. Holokin in the celestial language stands for holy or light energy. Holy or divine energy, which is pretty much light energy. It's light manipulation. Necrotis is the vice opposite. Necrotis stands for dark or corrupt energy. Corruption energy, which is dark energy. Then there's Infernic, which, as I said, pretty self-explanatory. It's fire energy, fire manipulation. You're able to manipulate fire and heat and stuff like that. There's Aquinus, which, again, self-explanatory. Water, moisture is what they're able to manipulate. There is then Terracon, which Terracon is actually earth. If you Terra, earth, and from its stone manipulation, that's what I'm sure you're capable of doing. Vensic, which is wind, which some people may be able to understand how that works, but it's supposed to be like kind of like Ventus. It's pretty much wind. Vensic is wind. It's air manipulation, wind. Become Avatar Last Airbender for all you freaking care. I don't care. Boltzin is lightning or electrical manipulation. Okay. And then there is Naturnic, which Naturnic is pretty much plant. It's pretty much nature manipulation. You're able to mess with plants and trees so on and so forth. Um, the three rarest energy manipulations is actually Holokin, Naturnic, and Necrotis. Those are the three rarest energy manipulations you can use. Most people only are able to learn one aura because the aura has to coincide with your ability, with your soul's energy and your spiritual element. Which your spiritual element is a bit different in that way. Aura as well is kind of different because aura is the energy has to be around you. So you can't just go, oh, I can manipulate fire out of thin air. I'm a firebender. Yeah, no, that's not how it works. You can't just generate flame out of your hand for no reason. No. The element has to be around you. So for Holokin, as long as you can honestly see, you have Holokin energy. You can use Holokin energy because light is everywhere. As long as you can see, you're fine. Because if you can see, light is bouncing off objects to go back in your eyes. This is light energy that you can use. Necrotis, darkness, as long as there's shadows. And honestly, as long as there's light, there's probably going to be darkness. Because shadows are a side product of light. Infernic, fire. If there's a torch on the wall, oh, there you go. You got your fire source. As long as you have the starting fire source, you can fuel that energy with your soul to make it larger and improve it, or whatever. Aquaness, water source. As long as you have enough water, you're good. Terracon, which is probably the most useful, honestly, because when is there not stone? So you can literally just go, oh, I'm an earthbender. Pfft, that would make sense, because the earthbender actually uses the earth. Just like waterbenders use the water. Vinsic is probably, again, on the same category as Terracon, because wind and air is normally everywhere. Hey, that rhymed. Boltzin, lightning, which is probably one of the hardest ones to use, because where are you getting an electrical source from? You're at medieval times. I don't see someone just carrying around a freaking taser everywhere they go. Now, before you guys ask, Sir Andrew in the story does use Boltzin. He does use Boltzin, hence why he uses his Boltzin Boltzin bolt, or whatever you want to call it. Boltzin rod, if I believe is what he calls it. Anyway, Boltzin strike is actually what I think he calls it. Anyway, regardless of that, the reason why he can is because his blade is called shock bite, which the blade is electrically charged. The blade has an electrical energy surging through the blade. So it's a magical blade that has electrical energy, and that's where he pulls the energy from. He can use Boltzin aura on the electric energy that's coming off the blade. So that explains that. So Boltzin is Boltzin. Naturnic is nature, plant life. As long as you have a freaking rose in the side of your room, you can literally extend the rose into a giant vine and freaking hang someone if you wanted. But again, there you go. There's your auras. Those are the octocora, meaning those are the most basic auras. There are other auras, but they're considered more. They are considered more of the Rhea aura, because it's your soul aura. It's pretty much your soul's energy you're manipulating, which that's what becomes the other auras. For example, there's silver aura, which silver aura is, or silva aura, which is pretty much an involvement of Terracon, which is from its silva aura is metal manipulation. You're able to manipulate metal and stuff like that. As I said, though, it's pretty much an evolution of Terracon. All the auras have like an evolution in a way, which is pretty much just a stronger form of them. Except for Holokin and Necrotis. They don't have evolutions. Infernic has plasma. Aquanus has ice. Leave the light alone, kitty. This is the one that causes all the goddamn trouble. She loves to mess with things. Anyway, but you can also make specific auras depending on if you mix multiple auras. For example, if you mixed Terracon and Infernic, you'd make Magma, which would be known as Magnus aura. Vinsic and Fire, Vinsic and Infernic would make, what did I call it? I believe that was plasmic. That was plasmic aura, which allows you to make plasma. Because superheated gas is plasma. Wow. All right. Um, However, another thing about the rules about aura is that you can learn multiple auras, but most people are only able to learn up to 3. There are some people that can learn 4, but that's very, very iffy. Most people can only learn 3 because of certain aspects, but you cannot learn 2 polar opposites. The polar opposites of each other. So if you chose Infernic, you ain't getting Aquanus. If you chose Terracon, you won't be getting Boltzan. Because they're exact polar opposite of each other. For example, if you chose Harlequin, you won't be getting Necrotis. Vinsic and Infernic will work together. Infernic and Boltzan would work together. Naturnic and Aquanus would work together. Very well, actually. But yeah, there are certain ones that won't work. There are some certain ones that don't work together at all. However, the Invulsion of Terracon Aura, the Silva Aura, does work with Boltzan, which is what's weird. The Evulsion works, but the normal doesn't. Because, well, stone and metal have different properties. Anyway, but that's all the auras. Those are the octacore auras. That's how auras work in that situation. So, now we go on to the spiritual elements. Which, the spiritual elements, there are 7 of them. Only 7. Which is weird, because it's kind of like, okay, what the hell? Anyway. So, the seven sacred spiritual elements are the sacred flames, the divine bolts, the noble dusts, the lost winds, the ancient stones, and the forgotten waters. Now, spiritual elements are unique because they are spiritual energy. They don't require your soul at all. These are fueled by your spirit. These are fueled by your willpower. So, depending on how willful you are, if you're having like emotional distress or having depression and stuff like that, it's not going to change much. But let's say you get really pissed off. The energy is going to be a lot more reckless and powerful because of your emotions. It's going to be very emotional driven. It's still energy manipulation, but it's spiritual in a way. It also means they can harm things that don't normally exist. For example, there was a fight that you guys did have with a Banshee. A Banshee is a ghost-like creature. It's untangible by physical damage. It takes reduced damage from physical hits. So magic and all that hits it hard. Works well. However, we saw with Intio used his blade and slashed at her. It did hurt her. It cut right through her and damaged her. That's partly because of a Chukujin's attachment to the spirit, because of Spiritrum. Spiritrum, as I said, is a spiritual metal. It will hurt spirits. But regardless of that, he also had Cursed Flame, which is the perfect thing to fight cursed spirits with. And so on and so forth. Phantoms, Banshees, Onis, and all that, they're considered cursed beings. They're pretty much dead, but they were cursed to stay on the living plane. So, Cursed Flame is meant to purge that. Is meant to cleanse the cursed objects. Hence why it's called Cursed Flame. Regardless of that, anyway. So, and also if you didn't know, Cursed Flame is its sacred flame. So, it's based on your spirit. And pretty much how a spiritual element works is that depending on your soul's energy, so for example, his energy was very cursing energy. So he can technically put curses on people. Intio could. If he wanted to, he can curse you. If Intio wanted, he could curse you. But he doesn't care for that. He doesn't want to. He doesn't care for doing that. That's how his character line is. So cursed energy mixed with his spirit's element, which is fire, creates cursed flame. Every spirit has like an elemental base to it. So it could be fire, It has one of 7: fire, lightning, ice, air, earth, or water. Those are the elemental bases for your spirits. What your spirits bases are on your current characters, I haven't decided yet. Pretty much, well, I have decided for a couple of them, but not everyone. And you guys will see that later on if you guys choose your spiritual element. If you decide not to have a spiritual element, then you won't have one. Or if you guys want it to be interesting and unique, let me decide, and I will make it worth your while, I guess. Anyway, so pretty much, sacred flames are unique fires that burn with the brightness of your will. So pretty much, the more willing, the more drive you put into why you want this fire, the reason you're using the fire, the more potential the flame will have. Sorry, I was standing on one foot and I almost fell. So, if you have a sacred flame, normally it burns brighter with someone that has more pride. The more pride you have, the more gusto, I guess, you show, normally means you're more stronger. Now, mind you, depending on your element, it depends on how your personality is. So, for example, if you are very prideful for what you do and what you are, your spirit is probably flame-based. It's probably flame-based, fire-based. So, divine bolt. Divine bolts are lightning. Makes sense there, right? Which normally, if you have lightning, it normally means you're quick to think. You're a quick thinker. You're normally quick at decision making. You are a reactor. You're quick at reacting. You are quick at thinking. You have cat-like reflexes or whatever like that. You know what? Whatever. Noble dusts. Noble dust means is ice, and normally if you have ice, you're normally very calm and elegant in your personality. You're very calm. You're elegant. You don't react. You don't act on first things, on first immediate decisions. Fire, that's something I missed out on the flame. With sacred flames, you act rational. You act irrationally. You will jump to conclusions and just act bashfully and just destructive. But that's pretty much how it works. So hence why Intio, when Intio first saw the Banshee, what do you got? So honestly, if we go by Thundra's standards, Thundra wouldn't have lightning. She's not a quick thinker. She's probably would have sacred flames because she's just thought, okay, blood for the blood gods, kill it. Anyway, but noble dusts for ice, it's normally pretty much the more reserved and calmer you are during stressful situations. That's probably how you have noble dusts. Lost winds, which is air, normally means for you to have this, you normally have to be a free-minded. Free-minded meaning you are open to ideas, you're open to opportunities, you're willing to adventure, you're adventurous in a way. Normally, if you have a lost wind, you normally are very adventurous, you're very curious about everything around you. Ancient stones. Ancient stones mean you're very honorable. You're very strict to your, not really strict, but you're very honorable. You bound yourself to a code, and you don't want to break that code. You don't want to break your honor, which, get it? Stone unbroken. Unbreakable stone, or whatever. You don't want to break your honor. You don't want to break your promises, and stuff like that. If you want that kind of character, that's what you're normally probably going to have. Forgotten Waters. Forgotten Waters are a bit different, a bit interesting. Pretty much, it's someone that is so full-heartedly set on a course. Like, you have a course, you have a dream you're set for, you're following that river. You're following that path down that river to find out what you're doing, to keep going in that direction. So, for example, if you want to put it that way, Luffy, his drive to be the Pirate King, he would have a Forgotten Water, because his full personality is fully on, I'm going to be the Pirate King. I'm going to keep going forward. I'm going to get stronger. I'm going to be the best pirate there is. That's how it would work. That's how his dream would be. But he's also kind of a free-willing, carefree dude, so he'd also have a lost winds. He would also have the wind element in his spirit. That's how it normally works. And that brings me to the next thing. Your spirit can have more than one element. Normally, sometimes they have 2. That's it. They have 2 elements. Sometimes you get 3. Depends on how your character is, how charismatic your character is. So, However, it would always be around the same type of energy. So if, let's say, how do I explain this? Let's say you had noble dust. You're very calm and collected, but you also are uh, very free-minded. I guess you're very free-minded, or you're very set stone in your honor. So let's say you have ice and stone. There you go. You have a noble dust and an ancient stone. Um, Normally it'll be based around the same energy. So let's say for Aureus, for example, Aureus Ex Tempest is one of the characters I made in my book. He has a noble dust, which his noble dust is Kelvic dust or Emerald Frost. Oh, not Emerald Frost. Noble dust, which is Kelvic dust. And if you don't know what Kelvic dust is, Kelvic dust. No, it's not Kelvic dust. Oh my god, I'm thinking of Rico. Rico is another character I made. That he was alive 18 years before your guys' story. Um, but he had Kelvic dust, which pretty much Kelvic dust means it was freezing the atomic molecules. Which pretty much his soul was filled with Kelvic energy, meaning molecular energy, meaning pretty much it was able to mess with molecules. Is basically what it was meant to do. But anyway, Aureus also has a similar soul. He has Kelvic energy as well. However, Kelvic magic is pretty much able to freeze atomic structures. So literally you can freeze something in time. Anyway, regardless of that, pretty much if you have the Kelvic energy, if you were to have a stone along with the ice, the stone would still be Kelvic stone. It wouldn't be like a different stone entirely. It would be a stone of similar properties. So anything touching the stone or the stone's molecular structure is frozen. So the stone would be practically indestructible. It can't be broken. Not without outside influence. Or it won't weather, it won't break, and so on and so forth. But normally, as I said, depending on your soul's energy, depends on what attributes it's going to work. Kelvic energy is not going to work on fire. It's not going to work on wind. It's not going to work on water. If it works on water, it's going to instantly turn into a noble dust. And the reason why is because Kelvic is stopping the molecular structure of objects, and it means it has to have some type of physical connection, and it's specific to certain items. So, for example, looking at your character's abilities and all that, which one would make the best sense for your character to have? Anyway, that's how that pretty much works, how that spiritual elements works, that's how aura works, and all that. But yeah, I will give you guys an example of this actually. Someone that has a sacred element that really matches their character. Someone you guys have met and you guys actually probably have fought. Andrew, but that would kind of be a spoiler. Well, you guys will see it anyway. Andrew's has a sacred element. He does have a sacred element. He has a divine bolt. Sir Andrew has a divine bolt, and his bolt is known as Vanta Bolt. In case you guys do not know, Vanta is a shade of dark. It's what is considered the darkest black color. The darkest shade of black, which there's actually one that came out recently that's even darker. So I'm like, how can you fucking tell? But who am I to say? But he has Vanta Bolt, which is literally lightning composed of dark energy. So meaning this energy is not only moving the speed of light, but it's also as dense as dark energy. Because dark energy is considered the densest of all energies. Light energy is considered to be the fastest of all energies. So yeah. So pretty much that's how it works. Vanta Bolt is from his combination of his Vanta energy from his soul and his electrical energy from his lightning. From electrical nature of his spirits. Hope that wasn't too confusing. If you have any questions about any of that, just let me know. I'll gladly simplify it as best I can. But I will see you guys later. If you guys like to see more of these, let me know. I'll gladly do them. I love explaining things. So, see ya.